New year, new me, right? That's what it's supposed to be. Well, let's see. We'll see. I mean, it's almost the end of January. And although I have been kicking my reading funk, which of course then leads to review funk, because you can't really do one without the other. Yeah, this is my first time actually sitting down and filming a new review. Even though I had good intentions, it just hasn't happened. But I've been reading, that's a good thing. And this is a book review. So, this is my review for, oh, hold on. I gotta make it up. So, it's on the Kindle, I apologize. It was cheaper on the Kindle than it was to buy it in store by like, oh gosh, $15. And I needed to read it right away, so I needed it. But anyways, let's see how good this shows up. Oh, not bad. Okay, so I read Backstage Pass by Olivia Cunning. Oh my god. Oh my god, okay. If you were offended by sexy times, don't go any further in the review, because whoa! Man, am I glad I was wearing shorts when I read this. Meaning, you know, my pajama shorts. I didn't go anywhere fun. But anyways, holy smokes. Like, you need to be over 18 to read this, I think. Like, whoa. Or at least, you know, be able to say the word vagina and penis without laughing like a little child. Because you get a lot of both in this book. Oh my god. So anyways, this is the first in a series. So far there are only 5 books, and the author does plan on releasing 2 or 3 others, I believe. So, and they, I'm pretty sure, are going to be collections of short stories that encompass the characters from all 5 books. And then the series, is also like, oh, what other series? A lot of the new adults that are coming out, somewhat like Sarah Destin, in the way that you read them in order, and characters from the previous books show up in the next book. However, the difference being with this is that the entire series is based around this metal band called Sinners. Oh, duh, you know, the whole thing is, the series is called Sinners on Tour. Nice. But, yeah, so you get the main characters from the band in each of the books. So each 5 books. So, and then you get the other main characters as secondary characters in the following books. Does that make sense? It doesn't to me. But anyway, I tried. So, this book itself is about a woman named Myrna who is a sex professor. Oh my god, if I could be a professor of anything, I would want to be a sex professor, because that sounds awesome. And she is at a convention at a boring, stuffy hotel and meets the members of the band Sinners, which they were in town, like, playing a college thing. Anyways, whatever. And of course she thinks they're all devastatingly gorgeous, because they are. Holy shit, I wish these guys were real. But she falls in love with, I have to think, he's one of the guitarists. I was thinking the drummer. No, the drummer's a different book. Anyways, she, you know, she doesn't fall in love with him. It's not love at first sight, people. It's definitely lust and, like, panty dropping at first sight. Hello, first, second chapters. But anyway, so the entire book is about the 2 of them, and it does have alternating perspectives. So it alternates pretty much chapter for chapter between Myrna, who is the main female character, and Brian, who is the guitarist, the main guitarist, the lead guitarist, whatever, in the band as the other main character. Wow. I mean, wow. That's, yeah. Like, you could, I'm not gonna lie, it would be very easy to get yourself off to this book. Like, that's very crude, and I'm sorry if you're offended, but it's true. Like, but okay, it's not just an erotica book, because I've read erotica books, and a lot of them really suck. This one, though very erotic, actually has a plot line. I mean, it's about this blossoming romance between the two, but they don't want to address it, but they do, because the main character, Brian, is like a real not-so-closet romantic, and then Myrna's, of course, in the way that all ladies have been, she's been burned bad in the past by her ex, so it's, getting over trust issues and dealing with the exes and holy shit, sex. Like, S-E-X, sex. Sexy times, sex everywhere, and this wasn't even the raunchiest of the series, let me tell you, because the second book, I think, is the worst in that respect, and I read it first, which, of course, got me addicted, because the characters are awesome. But anyways, yeah, the plot was surprising. I mean, the books are in the romance section. They're not in the erotica section. I don't generally peruse the erotica section, mostly because a lot of them are plotless. But who can pass up sexy, hot, metal band guys? It's the biceps, I'm telling you. Musicians have killer biceps. Just saying. But anyways, yes, so, wow. But mostly it's the sex. Like, and you can't go into this book being instantly offended. I mean, I read V.C. Andrews when I was like preteen, so no, this didn't shock me. I read Harry Potter fan fiction, and yeah, a lot of this is a lot tamer than that. Let's just put it that nicely. But you can't go into reading this book and be easily offended by sexual content and language and visualization of what's going on. And trust me, sometimes when it was being described, actually I had to stop and think, like, how is that possible? And then kind of like, with stick figures, work out how this is going on and all that. So, you cannot be easily offended. You have to be a mature reader to read this. And I'm not talking mature in age. I mean, like, actual maturity level. I'm sure, I don't condone this, but I'm sure if you were 12 and think you could handle this, you probably couldn't because you're 12. But yeah, okay, you think you're mature enough to read it. Go ahead and be scarred for life as a 12-year-old. But, like, if you're 16, I mean, I know some 16-year-olds that could put these people further in. Let me tell you, some of the shit that 16-year-olds do nowadays is gross. But anyways, I'm just showing my age. Yeah, you can't be easily, no. That's not how it has to be. And you have to be comfortable not only with yourself, but then with basically being like a voyeur in all of these situations. And you have to be open to not just male and female relations, but male and female and male, and a little bit of male and male, and pretty much anything that's open, and pieces of your extremities going places that you wouldn't necessarily think they should go. And okay, I'm going to break it down really easily. If you feel uncomfortable walking into a sex shop, these books are not for you. That's pretty much where it is, because if you can't do that, you sure as hell would not be able to handle these books, because trust me, sex shop people probably, yeah, this would be tame for them, but you know what I mean. Yes, anyways, but the plot was really good. And the characters, I don't know why it took me so long to get to the characters, but the characters are phenomenal. I mean, they are not just flat characters. Like, they have multiple dimensions to them. You see when they're vulnerable, and you see where they're strong, and a lot of the time, I'm not gonna lie, I was yelling at Myrna to just kind of like take the stick out of her ass and just be like, listen, this is happening, you love him, you just need to, address it and be fine. But that didn't last for very long, because the characters are also relatively smart. They realize that, yes, this is happening, and yeah, it's gonna happen, and yeah, I like it happening, so I want it to happen more. Like, not rocket science, basically. But not only are the main characters well developed, but the secondary characters, especially the characters of the band, are incredibly well developed. as they should be, since following books are about them. Granted, of course, they develop more in those books, and you learn more about them through them, but I digress. It was surprising, much like the plot was, that the characters had as much depth as they did. Especially, like, Myrna dealing with her husband, and at the beginning I kind of wanted to slap her, not only for other stuff, but because she was very self-deprivating. Is that the right word for it? I don't know. It's late, I'm kind of tongue-tied. But she was really down on herself for a lot of it. And it bothered me a little, and I did see this in another review, that she kept referring to herself as a whore. And honestly, I mean, yeah, whores would engage in these acts, but it's not the definition of a whore, if you know what I mean. So, no. I didn't personally think she was a whore. I don't think other people would think she was a whore, but the fact that she was classifying herself as such, because, granted, it was because of, like, her past relationship, so it was more of a psychological thing than, like, a physical, I think I'm a whore for going down on this guy in front of his bandmates. I'm not actually sure if that happens in this book. But anyways. So yeah, the psychology of that was really interesting too. And it got to the point where it was almost very annoying because she's a sex professor, for Christ's sakes. Of course you're going to know a lot about sex if it's your life to know about sex. Doesn't mean you're always going out and doing it. I mean, you're doing it in the book, but that's kind of the point of the book. So anyways, but yeah, that side of her was really interesting, and it kind of kicked the student in me to be like, yeah, I really wish I'd paid better attention in my second year psychology class, because I think it would come in handy. But then you have with Brian, like, he's been hurt a lot in the past, sometimes on purpose, sometimes not, but that's kind of explained, and it would give it away. But so you have Myrna, who has been beaten down psychologically, and then you have Brian, who's been beaten down emotionally, and the two of them together, they're really working it out. So it's interesting to see them actually sit and work it out. I mean, not physically sit, you know what I mean. Metaphors, people, metaphors. So, but then there's also, like, there's a family dynamic involved with it as well, whereas you don't actually meet any of Myrna's family, I don't believe. I don't actually remember if she has family. All the books are kind of meshing together at this point, but you do meet part of Brian's family, and it's interesting to see his family dynamic as well, and how it reflects upon him as a performer in his band. And it's actually, I don't know if it's specifically addressed, but I mean, like, it's kind of semi-obviously addressed if you read between the lines, if it's not directly spelled out for you. It's been a while since I read this, like maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. I've read it since the beginning of the year, so less than a month. Go me. But yeah, anyways, it's good. I rambled. I know I ramble all the time, and it's my first review back. I need to have my, like, phone next to me and time these out for 5 minutes again, because this is probably going to be, like, so long. But anyways, basically, I have to turn my Kindle on again so I can show you the cover. The very sexy covers. Sexy covers. I took the second book, which was actually the first one I read, into work, and thankfully, co-worker's a fellow book nerd, and actually about to potentially have her book published. I don't know. She has an editor, publicist, she's submitting it to publishing companies. So, anyways, fellow reader understood and did not judge the cover that I was reading. And this one's pretty tame. The re-release of the paperback, not the same. Anyways, let's get that in there. Backstage Pass by Olivia Cunning. If you want a good Sexy Times book, this is it. I'm really hoping that when I am in New York for BEA, I can find this book and the 5th book in the series at a really cheap price on paperback, because I want them to I want to reread these books eventually, because they were that good. And it wasn't just the sex, it was the actual storyline, which is saying a lot, because the sex was wow. In fact, the sex was so wow, at times, I almost wished it was toned down a little. Not in content, but in quantity.